For 40 years, my wife, Margaret, hid a secret behind her quiet Thursday rituals, and I never noticed. Every Thursday morning, she would wake with a determined calm in her eyes, the kind of quiet focus that made the rest of the world fade away for just a moment. She'd brew her tea and sit at the kitchen table, her fingers tracing the rim of the cup like she was holding onto a tiny anchor. Sometimes, she'd hum a tune so soft, I thought I imagined it. Then she would glance at the clock, straighten her coat, and flash that small, familiar smile, the one that had made my heart stop on the day we married. "I'll be back soon, Harold," she'd say, her voice warm but resolute. I would chuckle, half teasing, half anxious. "Sure you will. Last Thursday, you came home 3 hours late. I almost thought you ran off with the banker." She would laugh, that quiet, full laugh, and sometimes add a playful shake of her head, nudging me in a way that made my chest ache with love. Ha ha ha, she had that effect on me. For 40 years, she went to the bank every Thursday. Rain, snow, blazing sun, the occasional sniffle of a cold. Nothing kept her from it. And I never questioned it, not really. Not deeply. It became part of the rhythm of our lives, like brushing our teeth or the soft hum of the refrigerator at night. You accept it. You don't ask why someone breathes beside you while you sleep, and I never asked why Margaret walked to that bank week after week. Until the day she died. Then everything changed. The call came, not from her doctor, not from a relative, but from the bank. My heart stumbled as I listened to the receptionist's soft, unfamiliar voice. I drove to the hospital that morning, the streets foggy and quiet, my mind trying to brace for something I wasn't ready for. The room smelled of antiseptic and her perfume, just faint enough to make me catch my breath. She lay there, frail and pale, her hand resting in mine. I rubbed her knuckles gently, the way she always liked, as if I could convince her to stay. Her skin felt paper-thin, delicate beyond belief. Each breath she took seemed like an effort, a battle she didn't want to fight. "Stay with me, Maggie, please," I whispered, my voice so weak even I barely recognized it. Her eyes opened slowly, and for one fleeting moment, I saw her strength flicker in a smile. A soft awe escaped her lips as she tried to speak. "You'll be okay." I shook my head, my heart breaking anew. "No. Not without you." She closed her eyes. One final, slow rise of her chest. And then silence. I leaned over her, my tears soaking her hospital blanket. The world didn't just feel empty, it felt wrong, like someone had muted all color. For days, I wandered through the house in a daze. The scent of her hairbrush lingered in the bathroom. Her teacup sat on the counter, still half full as if she'd return any minute. The echo of her laughter haunted the halls. On the second Thursday after her passing, I woke to a silence, so deep it pressed against my ribs. That's when I noticed it. A white envelope, thick and formal, bearing the bank's logo. Something about it pulled me in. I opened it cautiously, my fingers brushing against smooth paper, the faint smell of ink lingering. Inside, a note from the branch manager read, "Mr. Walker, your wife maintained a private safe deposit box with us for 40 years. As per her instructions, we request your presence to discuss its contents." Private? I thought I knew Margaret inside out. We shared everything, or so I believed. I drove to the bank later that day, stepping into the lobby with a mix of dread and curiosity. Fluorescent lights hummed softly overhead. The polished floors reflected my hesitant footsteps. The manager, Miss Sullivan, greeted me with a soft, sympathetic expression. "Mr. Walker, I'm deeply sorry for your loss." I nodded, swallowing hard. My voice didn't work. "Your wife was very consistent," she continued gently. "She came here every Thursday without fail, for 40 years. I whispered, "Yes, I know." She led me to the vault. The cold metal door, the echoing silence, the faint scent of oil and paper. It felt unreal. She unlocked a steel drawer and stepped back. "This box is yours now." I opened it slowly, the hinges groaning slightly, and inside, my breath caught. Letters. Hundreds of letters, tied with a faded blue ribbon. A thick black binder beneath them. And at the very bottom, an envelope addressed to me, in her unmistakable handwriting. I touched the letters, inhaling their faint lavender scent. The first was dated nearly 40 years ago. My dearest Harold, if you're reading this someday, it means life has taken us somewhere unexpected. I hope you're sitting down and breathing slowly. I'm writing you a letter today, like I will every Thursday, in case I cannot be there beside you. My knees weakened. I pressed my hand to the table, gripping it as if it could hold me upright. Another letter. You made me laugh today until I spilled my tea. Ha, you think it's art, but it's a mess. I love you in ways you'll never understand. Another. We fought today. A stupid argument. I cried afterward because I hate it when we fight. But you came in quietly and hugged me from behind. I'm melting even writing this. And another, darker. The doctor says I may need treatment soon. I'm scared, Harold. Not of leaving you, but of leaving you alone. I walked home crying. I didn't tell you, because I didn't want you to worry. And then a line that stopped me cold. If I go first, you'll freeze. I know you. You'll stop living. So I'm writing these to keep you warm when I no longer can. I sank onto the cold bench in the vault, the letters scattered around me. Tears rolled freely, dripping onto the blue ribbon. My fingers shook as if they belonged to someone else. Maggie, why didn't you tell me this? I whispered. Each letter I opened was a wave, some sweet, some funny, some heartbreaking. You played the harmonica today and scared the neighbor's cat. I laughed so hard I almost fell. Ha. You held my hand all night. I didn't sleep, I just watched you breathe and felt grateful. Harold, I feel weaker these days. But every Thursday, I come here to write you another piece of my heart. Finally, I reached the binder. Financial statements, savings, receipts. She had been saving for me, quietly, patiently, over decades. I whispered, "You unbelievable woman, my beautiful, stubborn angel." Near the back of the binder was a small note, "For the love of my life." My hands trembled as I unfolded it. Harold, if you're reading this, breathe. I know you're crying. Every Thursday, when I tell you I'm going to the bank, you tease me. You say one day you'll freeze if I leave you. So I've spent all these Thursdays making sure you won't. You must live. You must laugh again. And one more thing. Open the envelope with your name when ready. Only when ready. You'll understand why I did everything. I love you beyond life, my Harold. I held the note to my chest, sobbing until the vault echoed with my grief. And then I looked at the final envelope, my name written in her flowing script. My fingers hovered over it, trembling. Not yet. I wasn't ready. Not for whatever she had saved for me. Not for the truth hidden in 40 years of Thursdays. But soon I would open it. Soon I would learn what she had planned all those Thursdays. And why she loved me so fiercely, quietly, perfectly. The final envelope rested in my hands, heavier than any letter I had ever held. I stared at it, my heart hammering, my chest tight as if it were trying to squeeze the life from me before I even opened it. Outside the bank, the sunlight filtered through the tall windows, casting long lines across the polished floor, but I didn't notice. My world had shrunk to that single envelope and the lifetime of secrets inside. I took a deep breath and finally tore it open. Inside was a stack of photographs, worn and yellowed with age, and a small folded piece of paper. The photographs were of her, Margaret, in places I had never seen her go. One showed her smiling in front of a small, modest house, handing a grocery bag to a child I didn't recognize. Another showed her planting flowers in a garden, the sun catching her hair in golden light. My fingers shook as I picked up the paper. It read, "Harold, every Thursday for 40 years, I've been making sure someone's life was better because of us. I have been living 2 lives, ours, which I cherish beyond words, and one I could never tell you about until now." I blinked, trying to process it. 2 lives? Margaret had always been open, tender, and warm. What could she have been hiding? The binder beneath the letters had shown me her quiet care for me after her passing, but these photographs hinted at something more. My eyes fell to the last photograph. It was of her with a man I vaguely recognized from the neighborhood, helping him count money outside a small shop. My stomach twisted. Was she helping someone financially? Every Thursday? My mind raced. I rifled through the photos, each one telling a story of a life I had never been part of. People receiving food, small gifts, a warm smile from Margaret. And then I noticed something on the back of one photo, written in her familiar handwriting. This Thursday, I helped Mr. Larkin pay his rent. Next week, it will be someone else. Always for them, for you, for us. My breath caught. She had spent 40 years every Thursday, quietly helping people, strangers, families, children, without ever telling me. All those trips I had laughed about, teased her for, never questioning, had been filled with acts of love far beyond anything I had imagined. I sank into the chair, the weight of realization pressing me down. I had thought I knew her, but I had frozen in the comfort of routine, never noticing the depth of her heart, the courage of her soul. Tears streamed down my face. Ha ha ha, she had been teaching me, protecting me, loving me, without me ever seeing. She had known my weakness, my tendency to retreat, to stay frozen in fear, and she had made sure that, even if I could not move forward, she was moving for both of us. And then, my eyes caught the final line on the paper. Harold, I wanted you to live, to laugh, to see the good in life even after I'm gone. This is why I went every Thursday. This is why I never told you. Open the small envelope inside the binder. It is your inheritance, not money, not jewels, but something far more important. My hands shook violently as I returned to the binder, and there it was, a tiny envelope, marked simply with my name. My pulse quickened, a mixture of fear and awe tightening in my chest. Slowly, almost reverently, I opened it. Inside was a single folded note and a small key. The note read, "For you, my love. This key opens the locker where I have kept 40 years of our Thursday treasures, the fruits of love and care, for those who needed it most, and now for you to see. Use it wisely. Live fully. Laugh loudly. And remember me." I stared at the key in disbelief. 40 years. Every Thursday. She had lived a secret life of generosity, and I had been frozen, oblivious. I wept openly, my shoulders shaking with grief and awe. I felt both loss and gratitude in a way that made my heart ache like it might shatter. I left the bank with the key in my pocket, my footsteps echoing in the empty streets. The world outside looked the same, yet everything had changed. Each sound, each sight, each small detail reminded me of Margaret. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear, the soft hum of her laughter, the playful glint in her eyes when she surprised me with a small gesture. I drove home slowly, reliving memories of Thursdays past. I remembered her struggle to tie her scarf on the coldest winter mornings, the way she hummed while checking the mailbox, the tiny moments of silliness when she wore mismatched socks because she'd forgotten to match them in a rush. Ha ha ha, those small, human imperfections, those quirks, made her magnificent. At home, I sat at our kitchen table, the one where she had always had her tea before leaving. I held the key in my hands, turning it over and over. I thought of all the people she had helped without ever asking for recognition. I felt a wave of guilt for never asking why. But I also felt pride in knowing the depth of her heart, the quiet, unwavering love she had poured into every corner of life. That night, I lay awake thinking about the locker, the key, and the life she had lived beside me and secretly for others. The moonlight fell across the bed where she had slept, and I whispered into the emptiness, "I understand now, Maggie. I see it. I feel it. I promise I will live. I promise I will laugh." And yet, even with understanding, even with gratitude, even with the key in my hand, I could not stop the ache in my chest. For 40 years, I had been frozen, and now I had to move, carrying the weight of her love, her secrets, and her lessons. But I would open that locker. I would see what she had saved. I would continue the life she had protected for both of us. And I knew, suddenly, with a clarity that made tears sting my eyes, that life without her would never be the same, but it could still be full. Full of laughter, full of giving, full of living, as she had wanted. I fell asleep that night holding the key in my hand, the memory of her soft awe, her playful nudges, her quiet strength, all swirling in my mind. And in my dreams, I could hear her voice, steady, warm, guiding me. Harold, don't freeze. Live. Laugh. Love. The next morning, I woke with a sense of urgency. The key burned in my pocket, heavy with purpose. I dressed slowly, remembering her instructions. Every Thursday had been hers, a rhythm of generosity and love. Today it would become mine. I walked to the small storage facility on the edge of town, the morning fog curling around my shoes, the quiet streets reminding me of the silence she had left behind. Inside the office, the smell of concrete and dust mingled with a faint aroma of paper and metal. I handed the key to the attendant, my hands trembling as I waited. When the locker door swung open, I froze for a moment. There it was, decades of her Thursday treasures, carefully stored, cataloged, and labeled. Envelopes filled with letters, small gifts, receipts for donations she had made, even tiny mementos she had collected for people she had quietly helped. Each item told a story, each name a life touched by her kindness. My heart swelled and broke at the same time. Ha ha ha, she had touched so many lives, laughing quietly, bringing joy without recognition, making the world better without anyone knowing. I sat down on the cold floor, letting the envelopes spill out around me. I picked one up at random, read the name, the story, and tears streamed down my face. Awful, beautiful, overwhelming. I thought of her sitting at the table at home, sipping tea, writing letters, counting bills for someone she would never meet again, all so that I, and the world, would continue. Hours passed, and I barely noticed the time. The sun had shifted, the shadows growing long across the concrete floor. I held a small bundle of letters, remembering her words. If I go first, you'll freeze. You'll stop living. I am keeping you warm. I laughed through my tears, a shaky, heartfelt sound. Ha ha ha. She had known me better than I knew myself. And I had been frozen, blind to the depth of her love, the careful orchestration of her life for both of us. But now, in her absence, I finally understood. I had to move. I had to live. I had to carry on her work, her love, her legacy. I gathered the letters carefully, the memories swirling around me. I felt her presence in the way the paper smelled faintly of lavender, in the way each envelope carried the echo of her laughter, her soft awe, the little jokes she had tucked into each message. Ha ha ha. Each moment of her life now felt like a gift, a treasure, a lesson in living fully. When I finally returned home, the key still in my pocket, I placed the letters on the kitchen table. I sat in her chair for the first time, feeling the weight of 40 years of Thursdays and a lifetime of love. I whispered to the empty room. I understand now, Maggie. I see everything. I feel everything. And I promise, I will live. I will laugh. I will love as you taught me. The house seemed to breathe with me, the sunlight catching the edges of the table, the scent of her perfume lingering faintly. And I knew, for the first time in weeks, I was no longer frozen. I would honor her in every small act of kindness, in every letter, in every laugh, in every moment. I would continue her Thursdays, not just for the people she had touched, but for me, for life, for the love she had given me unconditionally. And as I held her last note, pressed to my chest, I felt a warmth spread through me, a quiet joy that she had prepared me for this moment all along. Ha ha, ah. I was finally awake, finally living, carrying her love forward, unbroken, unstoppable, eternal.